Hi guys, today's tutorial we're going to change the background with this girl using Photoshop 2021. First thing we're going to be doing, we're going to zoom in here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. We're going to use the quick selection tool. Click on that and nothing's really going to happen at this stage. Basically what's going to happen, we're going to have to go up to the top here and we've got this selection called select subject. You don't want select a mask, you want select subject. Now that's going to trace around her. It's going to do quite a good job actually. Now in the layers section on the side here, go to mask, straight away get rid of the background. It's done an excellent job with that. Just get the move tool, select it and move it up to the image it's going to be dropped into and let go. So you just drag and drop. Now I've got the transformation box there, so I can just select any corner and enlarge it. That's fine. I'm going to put her something like there. So it gives us a bit of a contrast between her and the background. Select any other selection tool to deselect it. Since we're in mask tool, which is really good, since we're in the mask tool guide, what we can do, we can muck around with the edges. See how the edges here are a little bit fuzzy? That's fine. Get the paintbrush tool. Now I'm going to select black because that's going to eliminate. And make sure on the right here we've got layer mask thumbnail. That's a layer thumbnail. That's the one you don't want to hold on to. We want to use the mask, that one. So we click on that and make sure we've got the black and white part selected. Now go to the paintbrush tool itself and gives you an indication on the bottom here what size we're talking about. If not, you just do a bit of doubling away just to see what type you've got, what size you've got. I'm just roughly just going around it very quickly. Now I've probably taken out half her arm there, but anyway, you get the idea of what I'm talking about here. And it's going to right click and it's going to get a zoom to full screen. Now on her right here, I noticed with her tattoo, some of it's missing. So that's fine. I'm just going to hold down the R key, rotate the image around across, zoom in there, get the paintbrush. I'm going to select the white. Make sure we've got the mask tool selected, and see how I can paint that back in. Get the black again, and I'm just going to minimize to get rid of the background. Going to do the same thing here. The white, just to fill that back in. As you can see, there's the background we don't need. So I'm going to go to the black. I'm just going to minimize that. I can't remember, I think that's part of her arm anyway, so I'm just going to zoom out. Is it part of her arm? Let's have a look. Zoom out. No, it's not part of her arm. So that part there, I'm just going to get rid of that as well. We've got black selected, mask selected. I'm just start colouring in. And that'll just get rid of that area. Now I'm doing this mask here with the edges, with the paintbrush at 100% opacity. Now if I wanted to change the opacity, i.e. to do hair lines, like hair structures and stuff like that, little pieces of hair sticking up, I'll show you what we're going to do here next. Now, let's see what we're dealing with here. Okay, so this part here, that's just the way she's developed. Oh, that's what. Okay, I thought that was going to be a bit of an issue, but it's not. Okay, so places like this, little areas like these, right? Hold in the R key, move the image around, zoom in a bit. Now I want to get rid of these white strands, so I'm going to get the pen tool. Got the black selected. I'm in the mask mode. Up here, we've got the opacity. Click on that, take it down to about 20%, something like that, 23. Still got the mask, still got the brush size there. And just gently go into it. And what it's doing, it's just gradually unmasking. Or basically, it's just gradually going around, deleting what we don't want, or erasing, whatever you want to call it. Just doing it very gradually. And this is really good, especially when you're dealing with hair. So real fine hair bits and pieces. So it still shows like she's got red hair or orangey type hair. So it still shows up, even though we're getting rid of the white, it's still showing up, the red part. So it's not getting rid of everything. If we keep on brushing and brushing and brushing, yeah, it will get rid of it. So I'm just going to change the size, the shape of this brush. And I'm going to change it to just a rounded version of a brush here. I might put the spacing up a bit so it's not so harsh to speak. So some of this I'm going over into the hairline. It's just basically trying to blend it in. So the background's blending in with it. That's great. So that's working out quite well. Now I've done this tutorial of this type of thing. I've done this example with quite a few other tutorials before. It's just that now we've got the version Photoshop 2021 and we've got quite a few nice little tools, little tricks and things that we can do now. Whereas before it used to be all the old school way of doing stuff, the hard way. All I'm doing there is right clicking on the zoom tool and fit the screen. Hold down the R key, rotate the image around. That's all I'm doing there. Alright, so now if we zoom in, we've got the hair on this side. I'm just going to do the same thing with the black. I might make it bigger because we're a bit of a distance away here. Now I've still got that spacing. I'm just going to get rid of that, bring that down. So we'll see what it's doing. It's doing a good job here. It's just very delicately just going around those edges and stuff like that. That's doing a really good job. I'm really impressed with that. That's good. This is a realistic approach to something like this, especially if you're doing this type of work for a magazine or something like that, graphic arts, especially for advertising campaigns and stuff like this. It really comes up really good, especially when you've got like hair strands, you know, small hair strands that are coming through, and people look at it and go, "Oh wow, how did you get that effect?" Now here, I'm just going to use white. Still got this selected, yep. I'm just going to bring this back in. So I might bring the opacity back up to 100% just to bring this part back in, because I think there's bits and pieces here that have the mask eliminated. Yeah, so little tiny bits like that, nothing much. Okay, I'm not going to go back. Go back to there. Opacity, put it back down. Yep, that's looking good. That'll do us for now, especially for this tutorial. Yeah, that'll do us. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to right click the layer. I'm going to convert it to a smart object. Right click it again and rasterize the layer. Now I can do what I want with this layer. I can change the opacity, colors, I can do anything with this layer. And you can't do that if you haven't got it rasterized. Now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Layer, Matting, and Defringe, and make sure you got width as 1. Defringing basically does around the edges, and it gets rid of all that fuzziness. It gives you a sharp, crystal clear edge. So that's good. That's what we want. That's great, and especially after we've masked the hairlines, they've come out really well. I'm really impressed with that. That's great. Now all we've got to do with this part of the image is to match the color with the background. And the best way to do that is to go to Image, Adjustments, and go down to here, Match Color. Now it's already selected the image that we're going to be changing, going to match. So you go across to here and you want the source. At the moment there's no source. Now if I go down to here, it gives me that image, which is the image we're dealing with. It's not that one. Now it's this one. This is the one I want. See, automatically it's changed. It's matched the color with the same contrast and everything else. You can muck around with the fade. Fading is basically, it's not making it completely the same. It's fading it in, converting it, so to speak. Now, as you can see, what's happened here, this part here has come out a bluish color, which is fine. It's okay because we're going to muck around with this image a little bit more. Going down to there, so it looks like she's actually in getting a photo taking while she's on holidays. Image adjustments, exposure. Now I always use the exposure and put it up. Gamma correction, I usually put that up, exposure down. It gives you a bit more depth into an illustration or a picture. I'm just going to zoom in. I'm not going to muck around with the color too much, I think, because the color is pretty much good. It's okay at this stage. Now what I can do, I can just keep the mask tool again, zoom in, get the paintbrush, make sure I'm down to 23 for the opacity, and I could just really gently take the opacity down further. I'm just going to get rid of that blue that's in there. Very gently. I have to put the opacity up a bit. 4% wasn't good enough. This is very time consuming, but it gives good results in the end. Okay, that'll do us. That'll do for this stage. Anyway, get the idea. That's good. That's looking good. I'm going to zoom in a bit more. I always like to zoom right out. I don't use a little window at the top there to give you a preview. It's too small. I like to zoom out on a photo like that to see how we're going. It's a lot easier, a lot better. So I'm just going to muck around with a couple of things here. Image adjustments, you've got brightness and all that. You've got to make sure you've got the actual image selected to do this. Image adjustments, you've got hues and saturations. The saturation, I take it up, gives a bit more colour. Go a bit down because it is a dull, like an afternoon sun type of look to this. So I'm going to do it like that. Now I want to give us some colour. So I'm going to get colour balance. A lot of people say, no, you should be using hues and saturations for this type of thing. We're not going to go there. And just a touch of yellow in there, more red. So I'm giving it a bit more, bit more depth in there. Yeah, so that looks a little bit more unrealistic. Looks more or less like someone's got a professional photographer in and they've mucked around with the hues and saturations in this photo just to make it look pretty. That's okay. Image adjustment, just mucking around with all these different things here, brightness, contrast, and these things you can just keep on going on and on and on, non-stop, just keep on going with these things. And you go on forever and ever and ever. And if you make a mistake with something like this, it's easy. You just hit the edit, undo last, undo brightness, and we'll toggle last. You can just keep on going back to those two things. That's under edit, undo. So at this stage, I think that's pretty much good. I like that. So I'm going to hit the right click key on the right click, convert smart object, right click, rasterize layer. Now what I'm going to do, another little step here. I'm going to right click and duplicate the layer. You call it whatever you want. And I'm going to go to image, filter, render, and I'm just going to go to lighting effects. Now, lighting effects on Photoshop 2021 is considerably different to all the other versions of Photoshop. Now, this is a good thing about it. You can really go to town on making some really significant changes, really good ones. So now we're giving us a light source. This is a really good tool. It looks like as if you've got a professional photographer in. See, like you can put the lighting on this side of the face, but the light is coming from that side, and plus we've got the light source on the girl too. The model in this picture is already on the right hand side. This is what I want. Hit OK. Because this is a big file too, especially the ones that get from this website. And you see here, so that's good. That's what we want. That's really good. Now, there's another thing you can do here just to make it even further. Go to Image, Adjustments, and Brightness and Contrast, and bring the brightness down. Now, if I hold the Command key down and click on the layer, it clicks her. And this is another little trick that I've picked up along the way. Get the Gradient tool. While you're in the mask mode, you've got the black and the white. Make sure that is a white color, not a gray. I'm going to mask it. Now, Command, hit the mask. Now what I'm going to do with the mask, I'm going to get the Gradient tool. I'm going to go from, I'll take the one off one side to the other. So see what it's doing? It's actually making one side disappear. How cool is that? That is so cool. I love doing this. Anyway, we're not going to use that one, but it's just another thing that you can do. All I have to do now is go up to Layer, Flatten Image, and there she is. She's in the holiday selfie, or whatever you want to call it, and she's on location in some other country. Okay, if you go to Auto Color, which Photoshop likes to do this, go to Auto Color and straight away it just matches backgrounds and everything else. It tries to match everything together. That's a pretty good thing to do, especially if you're going to post it on the web or something like that. Auto Tone, Auto Contrasts, in this case, nothing's really going to get changed. So I'm just going to go back to something like the contrast or the color balance. And I like that reddish color there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to highlight it a bit more with the red. Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturations. I'm going to sample that color. And I'm going to put the saturation up a little bit. Put it down. Yeah. That was better. That's what we're after. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and hopefully helped you out with some of the new tools in Photoshop 2021. Cheers.